Ray.
Yes. Sorry, my mic was muted there. Do you want to take that bit again?
Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. Today we are discussing part 2 of our Pirate's Life Tall Tale discussion. This time our focus will mainly be on the third and fourth Tall Tale. It's bound to be another great episode, and I am once again assisted by a wonderful human being who is there to help me out.
Hey guys, it's AShinyRay again. I'm a Sea of Thieves YouTuber and love me some Sea of Thieves lore.
It's hardly any surprise that you're on now. You've really wheeled your way into becoming a regular, and a lot of people want you as a co-host. And I think we're well on our way to achieve that goal
It's a paid role though, right?
eventually. Yeah.
Eventually. Imagine, I can't believe this started from me commenting on your video and then you just said, do you want to be on a podcast? It's like, yeah, let's do it. And then a few months later, this is my fifth podcast?
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah, so we obviously get on to some degree. You should see us off the podcast. We're always arguing.
It's fun though. It's easy planning with you too, so that goes a long way. Anyways, welcome back to the podcast. Just like before, we do have a lot to say about these tall tales, and also like before, we mix in some questions from our own community. If you'd like to have your own questions answered about lore or other stuff in future podcast episodes, make sure you join the Salty Hippo Discord. The link will be somewhere below. And again, a disclaimer, just like last time, we are not shy to spoil everything. And with everything, we do mean anything. We spoil all the tall tales, both past and present. We spoil the novels, the comic books, and we even spoil the art book on this podcast. So both of us, we are into the lore, and discussing everything is only beneficial to the quality of our discussion. So yeah, you have been warned. So before we dive into the third tall tale, let me quickly summarize the story so far. We have been told about a new threat on the seas, but we need the help of Jack Sparrow. We infiltrated the Ferry of the Damned to rescue him, but we failed. He failed. He kind of, flopped in the sea. So we had a little silent adventure instead to rescue his compass, but also his crew. And that's it. So you're all up to speed of what happened in the past Tall Tales. The compass is important though, since it's going to be our main tool for Tall Tale 3. So let's get into Tall Tale 3. So Tall Tale 3 begins at a camp, just like every other Tall Tale, and our task this time is to rescue Jack yet again. He's somewhere at the Sea of the Damned, and we need to find him. So the plan is to get us somewhere close to where he is. The part of the Sea of the Damned we are going to be entering is catered to Jack. You had a word for that in the last podcast?
It's like almost like a pocket dimension. The best way is sort of described to us is that it's based on someone's memories. So it's almost like, I don't know, everyone has their own unique Sea of the Damned. There's no particular way of describing it unless we've completely missed it, but that's how it's been explained to us.
Yeah, and that bit of information is key to understanding this tall tale. So we entered the portal again. We started at the swamp area where we light some beacons to progress. After that, we arrive at a fort where we discover we are not the only ones looking for Jack. Barbos is as well, and so is his first mate, Black Dog Briar, whom we defeat at the fort. After that, we get back on the ship and we go to a little pirate town, which is basically an excuse for the developers to put as many references to the Disney ride in it, which is great, by the way. In this little town, we do some questing, we do some puzzle solving. We meet Jack, but surprise, surprise, he is just an after image. It's not the real one. After that, the town gets on fire. We see this awesome shot of a tower exploding and falling down. Really, really great to see that in Sea of Thieves. After that, we fight Black Dog Briar yet again, since he's a ghost, I guess. With his final dying breath, he tells us we are in a ghost story. So these words make a lot of sense when we finally arrive at the tavern a bit later, where Jack is telling his stories to all the souls that care to listen. And the words of the first mate start to make a lot of sense. We are literally experiencing a story that's being told by a ghost. So we get off our ship and we meet our favorite character, who is not Jack, but the cursed captain. His head is there at the Tavern of the Damned. He lets us inside. Inside, we try to convince Jack to go with us, but he doesn't really want to because he has all the grog he can drink and all the stories he can tell. But then Pendragon lays some facts on him and kind of convince Jack to accompany us. And we sail back to the Sea of Thieves. And that's the end of the tall tale. But the song "A Pirate's Life" will be still in your head for the next couple of hours.
That was a really good summary. A lot more concise than what I would have done as well.
I kind of hinted a little bit at the summary, but why this part of the Sea of the Damned? Why do we arrive at this part?
Oh, I think it's because Calypso explains that at the start of the Tall Tale, and hence why we get the journal as well, that this is Jack's memories, and we're going to have to journey into essentially what's his deepest, darkest memories to find out where he is. I suppose it's not so easy to locate a soul in the Sea of the Damned, so we're almost like tracking his footsteps to find him. And at the end, obviously, it was said as well that he was telling the story, so it's almost like a narrative twist on it where we're not just going through his memories, he's telling the story and we're living it at the same time. Is really quite
Mhm.
strange.
I think it's brilliant. And it kind of makes the Sea of Damned this weird place where anything can happen, right? So I really do like that. And also, harkens back to the first tall tale, that little cave area we love to discuss, where at the end, dead men always have tales to tell. And again, it's true for the third tall tale, where again a dead man is telling his tale, and we are experiencing that dead man's tale. And I know, like, it fits so perfectly, and I really like it.
This isn't a patch on the Hollywood films because I think they're excellent films. Well, most of them anyway. I think Sea of Thieves has done a better job of adopting that small little line "Dead Men Tell No Tales" than the films ever did. Because like the whole story is based off of a ride, and I don't know. I know it's got elements of the film because obviously Jack Sparrow and stuff and Davy
Mhm.
Jones, but it really does lean on that sort of mystical, whimsical Disney World ride.
Mm.
Some people might not like that and might prefer the sort of more realistic nature of the Pirates of the Caribbean universe, but I think that's something that was handled really well, and you can tell the people involved really do like the ride more than the films.
Yeah, and rightfully so, which is really weird because I've seen the movies, especially the first one, multiple times, and I've been on the ride twice, right? But still, what do I like more? I like the reference to the ride way more than I like the reference to the movie. So it's really, I know how it works. Like, even as a collective, like as a cultural collective thing, because the movies are big throughout the world, but still the the ride is better, right? Still, I enjoy the reference to the ride way more. So I wonder how it is for other people.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the sort of scope of opinions on this, but I think I preferred the ride references even though I've never been on it.
Yeah. It's funny. And you actually discovered a ride reference that I didn't, which is called a Blue Bayou, which kind of fits in because that chronologically that happens early on in the Tall Tale. So can you tell me a little bit about the Blue Bayou? What is that?
But yeah, in the third tall tale, when we get through the swamp and before we when we get to Teodama's hut, we have to do a little side path and we come across a beach ship called the Blue Bayou. And the Blue Bayou is a restaurant in Disney World just outside the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So that's where the reference is from.
Yeah, that's a great find, by the way. I was like, what is this ship? And it's even named. And every time a ship is named in Sea of Thieves, like it means something. Like there's more to it. But this is just, another reference to the Disney park. So it was a good catch. It was a really good catch.
To be fair, I didn't know it straight away. I saw the words. I was like, I should know that. That's definitely a reference. And I popped it into Google and I was like, oh, it's the restaurant. I didn't know the restaurant was called the Blue Bayou.
All right. Well, that's what YouTubers do, right? They Google a lot.
Have to do our research.
All right. So we get another soul of the Flame of Souls, and that is, by the way, the correct name, the Flame of Souls. And then we light some beacons at Calypso's house, and then we see all the souls standing outside. But who are those souls? Like, what is there a story there?
So it seems we only caught this on the second time we played through this because because I missed a bit of the dialogue when we were rowing, but it seems like these souls are people who've gone to Teodama for help. through whatever means that they've been wronged, if they've lost someone, because she can bring back people from the dead or the poor or something like that. And it seems to be like the memories of the people that are congregating outside her house. And it's also reference to the film where the the crew of the Black Pearl are rowing through the bayou, and there's people stood in the water with the candles.
Hmm.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm wondering because at the end it is revealed that we're living through the stories that Jack is telling that moment. But in the movie, Jack wasn't present at that moment when Barbosa came back to life, right?
Yeah, that's true. So I suppose because he's telling the story of maybe how he got back from the not the dead man's chest, from Davy Jones' locker. He's probably retelling, "Oh, they brought back Captain Barbosa, who could find me." Essentially, I think it was just a way of tying that scene into the tall tale.
Mm, yeah, maybe. And it's a nice biome. Like I really like that swamp area. It's really nice to sail through it. Really atmospheric.
I'd really like that to be adapted, not the specific area, but that style of area to a new region in the Sea of Thieves. Like have larger islands with small bayous that we have to traverse with a bit more sort of, I don't know, like risk versus reward. You're going to be trapped in those narrow waterways by a ship that's outside, but
Yeah,
it sort of changes up the dynamic a bit. But that's a discussion for another time.
it is. Well, as long as there's no earthquakes on those islands, I'm fine with it.
Or geysers.
Um, well, guys are fine, I guess. So after the swamp area, we arrive at the Spanish fort. At least I think it's a Spanish fort. So is that from the movies? Like I can't remember that.
Not that I remember. There's definitely not a Spanish fort in the films. The closest thing is like the Turkish fort in the start of the second one.
Mhm.
It might be like a slight reference to that, but no, it's not in the films.
Yeah, but it is, however, I mean, this little memory is probably set before the movies because Barbosa is looking for Jack, and we have this new character, which is a new character by the way, the first mate Black Dog Briar. Again, I googled it, I couldn't find any references to the movies. Might be wrong, but as far as I know, it's a invention for the Sea of Thieves. Is that what you found too?
Yeah, I think so. Especially when I'll skip ahead a little bit here. We see that Barbosa has the Wicked Wench, which is one, a reference to the ride, and two, the Wicked Wench was the ship they had before the Black Pearl, I believe.
All right.
But I don't know.
Interesting.
But Jack was made captain of that, so I don't know how Barbosa got a hold of that. Maybe it was after Jack got the Black Pearl. But this is deepest Pirates of the Caribbean lore now.
Yeah, still really cool because the way you see that ship pop up eventually where Barbosa helps, it's just like the ride. It is just like the ride, and I really like that. The only downside is that Barbosa is just standing there like an idiot. And you see cannons firing, but nobody is manning the cannons, and I don't know, it's a bit clumsy. Like everything is really polished in these tall tales, but every time there are ghost ships, it's so super static. And like, yeah, you guys forgot to put some NPCs on the ships that actually move.
Yeah,
Um,
it reminds me when we first saw the Burning Blade. It was pretty much a galleon with a missing cannon and a different figurehead and sails, and everyone was really disappointed.
yeah, that's true. And I don't know, like I've seen characters T posing that were more convincing than Barbosa.
And also, we have
uh,
that little bloke, one shot through the mizzen mast, which is ripped straight from the ride. It's great.
it's oh man, it's so packed. I need to do the ride again. I'm sure I'll find even more references in these tall tales. Um, so yeah, so the Fort Hill area, we're there because it is a memory from Jack. We see some wanted posters. Again, we're not the only ones looking for Jack, which narratively, like there's some overlap, which I always like it when things overlap in the stories. But he's not there. So who is there is Black Dog Briar, who's also looking for Jack. And the reason he's looking for Jack is again because it is set before the first movie. They're looking for the Aztec gold, and Jack has one of those pieces. That's correct, right?
Um, no, I don't think so.
Oh,
It,
that's actually at least that was my feeling when I was playing the Telltale for a second time. But please let me hear your assessment.
I mean, you're right in the fact that it's probably set before the first film. It's really hard to figure out when this is happening. especially considering the events of the films. But the last piece of Aztec gold was taken by Bootstrap Bill.
Yeah, but they don't know that, right? They think Jack stole it.
Okay, yeah, they could. Jack could have stole it, but in the events of the first film, they think he's dead anyway. So they're like
Mm.
surprised when he's there. So they probably didn't think he was cursed with the gold. And I
Yeah.
think they took the gold after they marooned Jack, hence why he never got caught up in that.
Oh yeah. See,
But
that's
they
what happens when I haven't watched the movies in a while.
But this part's really confusing because it does look like it's happening before the first film, but we've had nothing in the films to suggest this has ever happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It seems like this was created in collaboration with Disney.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, right? Because Disney needs to add more lore to their Pirates of the Caribbean story as well. And the fact that they're willing to do that for a video game, I know, I really like it that they've done that.
They're getting the last bit of cash out of the franchise before they kill it with a reboot.
Yeah, yep, indeed. So I've got another question. We meet a lot of souls here, right? Including the first mate. But are those souls sentient? Do they know they are part of Jack's memories?
Black Dog Briar does make a reference to this, and he's like, just because we're ghosts doesn't mean we can't tell the difference between ghosts and the living, like specifically referencing us before he
Mm-hmm.
attacks us.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem they're sentient to a point. But then again, we see the ghosts in the fort who are manning the cannons and they don't know we're here. So it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. Maybe only certain people are sentient and others are part of the furniture, so to speak. Maybe Black Dog Briar is, but his crew isn't.
Hmm. So here's a crazy thought, right? Do you think it may be a combination of different memories that somewhere out there Barbosa is a dead soul in the Sea of Thieves as well, and is thinking of this stuff too, and those memories get intertwined with each other?
Maybe, yeah, because we know Barbosa is dead, and assuming Black Dog Briar is as well. We know Jack is, but yeah, it's hard to say. Like maybe Black Dog Briar is, but Barbosa isn't on the Sea
Mm.
of Thieves, Sea of the Damned. It leaves a lot of questions unanswered, which I wish was sort of explained a bit better. Maybe we'll get answers in the future, but as it
Yeah,
stands now, you could be correct in that, but we
yeah.
just don't know.
We don't know, and you could. There's literally two ways you can look at this tall tale. Just take it as face value and like, all right, these are the memories of Jack, and at the end we find them thanks to the compass. But there's so much more layers to it, which is really interesting.
This is what I like about the Sea of Thieves lore is that not everything's just shoved in our face. It's nice to have answers, don't get me wrong, but I
Mm.
also like piecing things together.
Yeah, I'm warming up to that because I told you before I just want definitive answers. I don't really like too much speculation because it's usually wrong, and then the speculation is still in my head, and I can't really connect it to the things that are real. But I think thanks to you, like I've become a bit more lenient with it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's nice to make up your own stories, and eventually we'll get the real answers, or we don't, but that's also fine. Um, so yeah, thanks for that.
I've been converting you, like chipping away at your little worldview there on the Sea of Thieves lore.
I indeed, which is good. And you had, and to be fair, you had some interesting theories of your own, and I do kind of like those.
I'm glad to hear it.
I still not convinced that Duke is Reaper, but you know.
You see, you see. I'm one step closer. Even I was
That's true.
gobsmacked.
That's true. I'm sure we'll talk about it when we arrive at Telltale 4.
hmm
So let's keep it a little bit focused on this Telltale. After we defeat Black Dog Briar for the first time, we arrive at this little town. Does that town have a name?
It did. It's a Spanish name, and people are going to hate us for not remember it, but it does have a name.
It's not Tortuga, right?
No, it's not
Okay.
Tortuga. It's a Spanish town. I could find out now, but I don't think it's that important.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't really find it myself. I mean, the most important thing that I want to, mention is that it is indeed not Tortuga, because a lot of people seem to be thinking that. But it is, again, it is the town from the right. Really beautiful. This is my favorite part of all the tall tales, by the way. just questing in this little town area, discovering all the citizens and what they're up to, and of course experiencing all the set pieces from the Disney ride. There's also a song that keeps playing all the time. So how much do you like the song A Pirate's Life?
I like the song, don't get me wrong, but just for context, when we played it, we were in this area for ages trying to figure out where that key is. Sorry, the treasure chest
The
is what you're
treasure.
looking for.
Yeah.
And one of our crewmates was convinced a diary was explaining the location, but we got the merchant key and we read the note and we just didn't pay attention. I think we progressed too far because we were going to come back for it.
Mhm.
And we were looking forever, and all I could hear is "Carlos, don't be shaking" and "Yo ho, yo ho," and I was just, it was just in the back of my head the whole time. I've made peace of it now, but at the time when we were leaving that tall tale, I hated it. I hated it so much.
And I was just playing with a smile on my face because I actually was really enjoying it.
There's two different kinds of people.
Indeed. So it is a bit weird because this is a really big section. But strangely, there's not that much lore to discuss about this, unless you disagree.
Nah, it's basically a recreation of the ride to a T. Really, there's even like a playable version of it if you take the rowboat around the fort.
Yeah, which was really cool, by the way, the little rowboat. And there's a bit more to the lore boat. There's a little side quest involved with that, which we kind of hinted at, but I don't see the need to spoil it right here.
No.
So are you ready to move on from the town?
Yeah, I just want to say this was like a really nicely crafted area, and like it shows that we can have these grand tall tales. And I think this tall tale, when I first played it, I didn't really like it all that much, but the town won me over,
Hmm.
especially on subsequent replays.
Yeah, it's still a bit long. The entire tall tale. I think like one section could have been removed, whether it be the swamp area or they maybe condensed the fort area. But that's just me. That's just me. It feels a bit too long.
I think when you play it the first time as well, and you're trying to find everything, you do spend a lot of time in it as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So after that, we have another little section, atmospheric ride, and we see Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow interacting in Ghost form with each other. After that, we go through a tunnel with a lot of waterfalls, which is just a beautiful section. It's meant for atmosphere again. I really like that. We did cannon ourselves to all the waterfalls to see if we could find hidden stuff. We couldn't, so if you play it, you just enjoy the ride. And after that, we arrive at a tavern, which the official name of the tavern is the Tavern of the Damned, which is a bit, because you could interpret it this as another section of Jack's memories, like he likes to tell his stories. So the Sea of the Damned created this tavern for him. But wouldn't it be called Jack Sparrow's Tavern or something like that? Now it's really called Tavern of the Damned, and eventually when we get in there, we see all the other souls there as well. So it makes me wonder if this tavern has always been there, or somebody else created that tavern. So what's your take on
I
that?
think I know the answer to this, believe it or not.
Oh, cool.
So the tavern, just to sort of lay the groundwork, is actually featured in the art book. The actual concept art shows the tavern as we see it. It's on page 165 if anyone wants to check that out themselves. But we see concept art of Ramsey being in that same tavern as well. I think it's the achievement for reaching Pirate Legend.
Oh.
Um, Obviously, we've got some other characters in there, which we'll talk about shortly. But if you look at the bar, you can see Briggsy's journal, and the tavern, what do you call the barkeep, actually looks to be. I don't know the name of the tavern lady on Ancient Spire, but that's her dad in there. So this is a universal tavern for the Sea of the Damned.
Wow, that's a great spot, man. Like especially the tavern dead. Like I wouldn't have caught that.
So yeah, I think it's pretty definitive, especially considering what we're about to discuss. That's a universal tavern.
Wow, that's great to hear. Also the art book, like I put it in my disclaimer, like, oh, we're also gonna spoil the art book, but I thought that was a joke, but apparently it isn't.
Yeah, like I once you said that, it was like, how does it has he seen my notes already? We haven't discussed this. But we have spoiled the art book, so if you complain in the comments that you thought it was a joke, you can get
I Wow, that's great. So indeed, we hear Jack talking about his story, and then I've said it before, the realization sinks in that we're just living through his stories he's telling right now, which is great. I really like that. We go to the door, we hear a guy talking, we don't know where it's coming from, which is great. Like they really placed the cursed captain really high, so you don't spot him like right away, which I thought was really really cool to do. And then when you do find them, you're like, oh, we're reunited with this hilarious character again. And he also explains to us that time moves differently in the Sea of Damned, which is another great twist. Which also again makes me wonder if like somebody dies and experiences this story and then meets somebody else has died, but in reality their deaths are years apart, but they're maybe experiencing at the same time, which I don't know, like it opens up so many possibilities, and I really like to see with them. But let's keep that speculation aside. The cursed captain, what is he doing there? Why is he talking? Why is he just a talking head now again?
it basically says he's wound up in a bit of trouble in the last few months. He doesn't really go into detail, but he's like, "Oh, look what I've done again. Oh, what am I like? Got decapitated again and separated from my body." Yeah,
It's his curse. That's his curse. Like he gets beheaded all the time.
maybe that's his curse, not the skeleton bit, but his head just keeps falling off.
I Do you think it's because people don't like him, or do you think he's just gets up in trouble because of his own actions?
I think he just gets in trouble because of his own sort of goofy actions. He's quite a goofy character, as
Yeah,
likable as he is. He's not the sort of, well, from what I can gather, like the mean, tough captain like Blackbeard or someone like that. He just seems like he's a bit too trusting of people.
I indeed. And when you look to the right, you also see some weapons laying there, and including a cutlass with a rose on it, which is a pretty big hint to what we will find inside the tavern. And we don't need to wait long; the doors open straight away after he's done his little talk. And there we finally do see Jack Sparrow with all the other lost souls well, not lost souls, but all the other ghosts of previous tall tales like Pendragon. We see Georgie, we see Rose, that other guy I always forget the name of.
Captain Slate.
Yep, indeed. Thank you. So yeah, who are these characters? Like, do we even need to explain this? Well, let's do this. Who are these characters?
I'm sure you've got some listeners that have not played the first set of Tall Tales for
Hmm.
the Shores of Gold, so and Flameheart ones. Don't know why you wouldn't play those, but new players and all. The Captain Slate. Let's start with him. He was the captain of the Morning Star, and we encounter him in the seventh and eighth Tall Tale for the Shores of Gold.
Hmm.
Basically, he was an ally of the Pirate Lord, and he ended up getting tracked down and defeated by Captain Greymarrow and locked away, um, away from the Sea of the Damned, and we eventually freed him. Rose and George. Do you want to take the Rose and George? Because I can't remember the Tall
Oh,
Tale very
oh
well.
yeah, sure. Like, well, they were lovers, and then Georgie got stolen by Brigsby, and that's a good one. I think his soul was also trapped, right? Yeah, Soul
Yeah,
is also trapped. Basically trapped the souls, and then we just need to find the pendants, and the Order of Souls lady released souls again, and they lived happily after in the Sea of the Damned, which is where we find them now, I think.
and lastly, Captain Pendragon. He used to work for the Order of Souls, and he used to free souls from their remains who were trapped. He used to kill skeleton lords as well. He was that much of a badass. Um, and he ended up getting imprisoned by Greymarrow as well. We free him. He does what he does best and untraps some souls. And the last one's Captain Flameheart, which I don't know how he didn't recognize considering the look of the skeleton. And then he helps us. Well, we help him rescue his crew from the Heart of Fire. But there's loads of other Easter eggs regarding Pendragon, but we'll cover that later on.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. I don't believe like that we rescue him from because he was trapped in a painting, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. We don't rescue him. Stitcher Jim untraps him from the painting.
Yeah, indeed, because it was all set up to to fool us into freeing Flameheart. Really big spoilers, but like I said before, you had your disclaimer. So this is all pretty confusing for those who haven't played the other tales, which is a bit weird of a choice, but on the other hand, it does make sense because you want to tell this big epic story, both of Pirates of the Caribbean, but also the story of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, like I don't know whether to bring this up now, but it's good to have some sort of fan service to the fans of the Sea of Thieves lore and those people who've completed those tall tales. Like I
Yeah.
understand it's fine to have a completely fresh story so everyone can enjoy it to the fullest extent. But I also like it in games when the lore heads and fans of the story do get their own little tidbits of sort of fan service. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, indeed. And to be fair, like all these tall tales, not only these, but all the tall tales, they are kind of meant to be played again. So with new information, all tall tales have different meaning. Even if you read the novels, if you read the novels, for example, like if you done Shores of Gold and you haven't read the novels, then you have one story. But if you come back after you have read the novels, there's so much new context. You can place it all, and you experience a different side of it. And I think the same is true for these tall tales.
Yeah, I agree.
So we tried to convince Jack to come with us, but like I said before, he doesn't really want to. And Pendragon, of all people, said, "No, no, Captain can't leave his ship. You're not a real captain, Jack. So get your shit together and help these pirates out." This is really great, and I recently discovered that still a lot of people don't know that Pendragon started in his own video games. He has 4 video games on the Commodore 64, and I just really like that a old school Commodore 64 video game character is telling a Disney character what it means to be a pirate. And I don't know, I just really like that.
It's absolutely great. Also, the Sea of Thieves Origins comic about Pendragon, it basically retells the story of the Black Witch video game in comic form, where he frees the
Oh.
captain of the Black Witch, Richard Cavendish. He does that in the Sea of Thieves lore as well. That's how he gets the Black Witch as his ship.
Oh, that's great. That I really want to read the comic now. Because I've seen a let's play of the Commodore 64 game. If people are interested to play it, just don't. It's a Commodore 64 game. You're not gonna really have a good time unless you're really into like really old school games, obviously. But yeah, that was actually a second game, if I'm correct. So you had 4 games and Black Witch.
Black
Um,
Witch was the last one, I think.
really.
I think. I don't know.
All right. Well, conflicting roar. I am planning to make a video about his games and what he did before he came to the Sea of Thieves. So we'll have some definitive answers in video form eventually.
Definitely wait for the last comic to come out for that one because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lore bomb in that one.
All right. Cool. Well, I can't wait. I really want to read the comics. Still haven't done it. So before we wrap this total up, we have some other interesting stuff happening in the tavern over there. There's a water wheel with a little waterway, and there are also hands coming from the water. Does it mean anything, or is it just uh, atmosphere?
I think that's just atmosphere. Yeah, I don't really know what else that could be, to be honest.
All right. Well, something else I've been wondering is because there are some noteworthy souls in this tavern, like Pendragon and Georgie and or George. And there's also other souls that are not talking. So do you think those are potential players in future Tall Tales?
Um, Probably not. I think they're just there to complete the atmosphere of the tavern being rammed, basically.
Yeah. Well, you did spot the tavern guy, right? Being the father of
Yeah,
one of the other tavern ladies.
yeah, but that's only because of the Briggsy book there, which is strange. But again, it's one of those things that's like a little nod for people who enjoyed the original Tall Tales.
All right. Anything else you want to mention about the tavern?
Yeah, actually, before we move on, what the hell is the Pyro Lord doing? Could he not like just stick his head round the door and say, "Hi, yeah, I'm still here"? Like, I know he's meant to have a standoffish thing, but maybe they could have added him there just to say hi. Like, considering he's like the ultimate good guy and he just does fuck all.
He doesn't really get involved with the tall tales all that much, only just to pat us on the back for a job well done.
The bloke,
Um,
the bloke barely moves off his seat. It's ridiculous. Like he hasn't even mentioned Flameheart. It's been mentioned in like, oh, we're training people up with Athena's run of fortune to, be the best pirates to fight Flameheart. And what are you doing there? You're digging up gems. How is that going to help? Like they could have used
it's
him for
training. It's
this.
training.
They're obviously saving him for something. It's straining on my old arthritis. But yeah, they could have had him as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe they're just saving it for a big sort of Ramsey thing, but it's just a bit weird, is all.
Yeah, you do have to remember that a lot of people are not pirate legends, and for those people, they only see him at the first tall tale and maybe Shores of Gold.
Or if they've reached Pyro Legend first, that's the only instances we see him, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll have to wait for more stuff considering the Pirate Lord. It is interesting because what you said, the picture of becoming a pirate legend, matches up with the Tavern of the Damned. I've mentioned this before. Like they did not plan ahead. Like this Pirates of the Caribbean stuff that really wasn't there in the first year of Sea of Thieves. Like no way they've planned for all that. So maybe they had ideas for similar tall tales where it was the pirate lord in the tavern, and maybe we would have met him in the Tavern of the Damned, and maybe
Yeah.
we would have experienced his memories, and maybe even see how he died with his daggers in the back, and those were the stories we were reliving before we eventually arrived at the tavern.
Maybe he's been barred for creating a rival tavern.
Guess so. You can't come here and I'll start my own tavern with blackjack and hookers.
Ramsey, we're gonna have to kick you out. You're getting too rowdy again. Fine. I'll start my own tavern then.
One quick question, then we move on. But you think there's something up with that, right? Like the pirate lord not being in all the tall tales recently.
I mean, like maybe I think they're gonna save him for something. Um, I think maybe he's gonna. This is a bit off topic, but I think maybe he's gonna have to come out and say, "Right, yeah, I'm gonna have to ally with my probably worst enemy to defeat the Dark Brethren." But we'll discuss that at a later time.
Aye, indeed. Speaking about Dark Brethren, I think we're ready to move on, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Should I do the summary, or are you gonna do it?
I'll do it. It's a really short one, to be fair.
All right. Well, off you go.
So at the start of Tall Tale 4, we're introduced to the castaway who's actually Calypso. She basically tells us that David Jones is holding a Brethren court, a Dark Brethren court, and that we have to stop him. So Jack comes with us because we've just saved him from the Sea of the Damned. Sort of, he's still a ghost. We have to sail north to the Coral Fortress. It's always on the map. We get there. Jack opens the door with a locket, David Jones's locket that plays his theme. Um, we go through an awesome water slide section. We find the Dutchman. We play a tune on there. We fight loads of ocean crawlers. We open a door after that, and then we have to ascend the fortress. We work our way up through some puzzles and parkour. Then we reach the sort of conference room, and we see some villains there. We see Davy Jones, we see the Gold Hoarder, we see Duke, and we see Wanda. So those are the four members of Dark Brethren, and the Siren Queen's also part of the Brethren as well, but she's obviously not there after we defeated her. They have a sort of chit chat about the evil plan that they're unfolding. They want to sever the ties of immortality for the Sea of Thieves, and they basically spill that they've got an evil plan and they're going to take over the Sea of Thieves. And Davy Jones will become the new ferryman. Anyone who doesn't swear allegiance to Davy Jones won't be allowed back into the Sea of the Living. They don't really explain how they're going to do it, just that the Dark Brethren are so powerful now with all of them that they'll be able to do it. They disappear to start some ritual. We interfere. We end up fighting some more ocean crawlers. Jack helps us out. The ritual is complete. Then we fight the Gold Hoarder. It looks like he's defeated, and then we just have to exit, and then that's pretty much the end of the Tall Tale.
All right. That's an awesome summary, man.
A lot more concise, this one.
Yeah, it's really, really, really well done. So again, let's start bit by bit. Let's start with the main structure, the Coral Fortress. It's its name. So what is it? What is this fortress?
Seems like another structure created by the Sirens. Seems they have been creating these for a very long time, and they have the ability to raise them out of the water because it must have always been there. It can't have been just created like in a few hours.
So thanks to the completion of the dog breath, and so to say, they're like, all right, now we can finally rise this fortress out of the depths. Is that correct?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
There's no real explanation of how it got there. It's just there.
What is interesting about a fortress is there's always a storm above it. So does that have any meaning? Like, why is there a storm always
I
there?
think it's an atmosphere thing. Again, this isn't explained, so I think it's just some like good sort of scene setting.
Hmm. Yeah, it is interesting though, because yeah, it is beautiful. You know, when you sail there and it's the stormy waters, and it's not super stormy, but stormy enough for atmosphere. But when you're just sailing, doing your regular voyages, and you look at the skyline, you might have seen two storms at the same time. We're like, all right, so what storm is real, and why isn't that one moving? And wait, or we need to deal with two storms now? So that's a bit weird that there's always this other storm on the horizon.
It's very confusing, isn't it?
Yeah. Wait, is that did you mean it as a condescending way or what?
No, 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 like,
All right.
because if you're, like, in the south and there's a storm, if you're looking north, you can see 2 storms and you don't know which one's the real one.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. So I rather had them, when you approach the Coral Fortress, and there's a visual that the storm clouds come in. But they didn't choose for that. They chose this option. I still think it's weird. I do think it means something that there's always a storm there, but I don't really know what it is right now.
I have no idea either, to be honest with you.
All right, maybe it's Duke.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe.
Stormguard. All right. So Jack does use a locket to open the first door. So what's up with that locket? What's that all about?
I don't know how he gets it, but, it's the locket from the second and third film that Davy Jones uses to play his theme on it. It was given to him by Calypso, and the locket seems to play his theme, which opens doors. I think that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah, indeed. I think he got it from Calypso, but I might be wrong in this.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
no, you're right. She does give us the locket at the start of the tall tale, doesn't she?
yeah, I think she does. Can't really remember, to be honest. And after the water slide, we arrive in the Chamber of Sorrows, where David Jones' ship, the Flying Dutchman, is also there. I've written in my notes why is the ship there, but that's pretty obvious. Like, come on, they're holding court, and the ship is just resting there. But why is it called the Chamber of Sorrows?
So I think this is a sort of double meaning here. So the Chamber of Sorrows would refer to one, it fills up with water like a chest of sorrow,
Mhm.
because basically the waters come from faces in the wall that are crying. And Davy Jones's ship is there, and his whole story is quite tragic. That he was charged with duty to ferry the souls of the damned by Calypso, and every 10 years he was allowed to put on land. And he waited 10 years, and he went to meet Calypso, and she ditched him, which was a horrible thing to do. It was really nasty of her. Um, and that's when he sort of became a lover scorned, and he's quite an emotional bloke for someone that's a heartless wretch, as he says. And that's sort of just a play on words that he's always full of sorrow. Like, I guess that's why he gets on with the Siren Queen as well.
Yeah, again, interesting. Like how these stories, like the meaning and the themes, overlap with each other.
I think that's pretty much it. Unless I've missed something again, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. That's a good assessment. I'm happy with that. So when we infiltrate the Flying Dutchman, nobody's there yet. However, there is a dagger. Um, you try to pick it up, but Jack says, we're not gonna do that." And he picks it up himself. So what's the meaning of Jack picking up the
He
dagger?
says that this ship has a nasty habit of binding those to the ship, so he doesn't want us to accidentally get cursed and have to serve aboard the Flying Dutchman. So if he's already dead, he can't be cursed to join the ship.
Yeah, that's true. And later in the fifth tall tale, which we won't discuss all that much, but in fifth tall tale, that dagger comes back as a way to finding Davy Jones. But we'll discuss that in the next episode. After that, picking up the dagger does trigger the door to open to the captain's cabin, and there's a organ, and we need to play some music. So why do we need to play some music on that instrument?
So obviously it's a gameplay thing, but I think the structure is tuned to Davy Jones's ship, so he can play the song to open the doors to get his ship in, essentially. Um, but it's also told that because the Davy Jones's song is one of sorrow, like the sirens, maybe that's what's letting him in because the song's so similar. It's
Oh
not the
yeah,
musical notes; it's the theme of the song. Again, because they're so similar, it responds to him.
yeah. And there are also in this structure and around this structure, there are also a lot of murals, and the murals are associated with dead people, right?
Yeah.
And also, that is also associated with sorrow. So it's nice that intertwines. Yeah, again, I love this. I love these themes going together. Different types of sorrow, but it's still connected. I like it.
I mean,
Um, yeah.
sorry, just to sort of expand on that, they've both lost their lovers in some way or another. Like the Siren Queen physically has been bereaved, whereas he's felt like he's been bereaved. Um,
Hmm.
this is getting into really deep into themes though, but Davy Jones is the dead man because he's got no heart, so it's sort of leaning on a more um, his death was not physical; it was metaphorical, whereas the Siren King's was a physical death. And we'll discuss this in Tall Tale 5 on how this is sort of touched upon as well.
Yeah. Still great. Like it goes to show that there's so much more to these stories than just being a walking simulator.
I still can't believe that Tall Tale knows shit because the first bit's a walking simulator. God,
I
where's the
hate
hit
these.
reg update rare?
I hate these tall tales because the rewards suck. So why do we even do them?
Where's the PvP updates? Where's Emissary 2.8?
We're quoting real comments on our YouTube channel, by the way, for those who are listening.
I don't know. Mine was
That's
a bit of a
that's our little in jokes right here.
mine was a caricature, but still nonetheless very apt.
All right. So anything more we want to mention before we move on to the big reveal?
No, I think I've covered it. I've spoken enough about the intricate themes of the Tall Tale.
All right, so let's go to the big reveal. We arrive at the Dark Brethren court. They are all talking together. If you listen closely, there are some hints to another potential character in the Sea of Thieves, which we'll surely discuss. And yeah, Wanda is there. Duke is there, which is the biggest surprise. Which is lovely, lovely voice, which is an even, I know, it's a surprise I didn't want.
But it,
And obviously the Gold Order as
it
well.
wasn't a surprise. It was just confirming the inevitable after that last update, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I still had a little bit hopes that he would. It sounds so weird, like his voice. It doesn't fit Duke. It's so posh. Like no, Duke is this rowdy guy that it's this jolly fat guy. But nope, he's a posh thingy. Can't really describe it, to be honest.
Like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and not a rum bowl.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's a good assessment. Yes. So yeah, let's answer these questions about these characters. So why are these characters working together?
They all have different motivations. So, Davy Jones wants to, obviously, like I said before, rule the Sea of Thieves by becoming the new ferryman. He's basically out for power, which is it's not a very good adaptation of Davy Jones's actual character from the films, but it is what it is. Gold Hoarder's there because he loves gold. He's the gold member of Sea of Thieves, isn't he?
Yeah, yes.
And he was bribed with the Aztec gold from Hernan Cortez, or 882 pieces. And as he's cursed already, it doesn't really affect him. It's like
Yeah,
he's
he's
going to
alright.
curse you, and he's like, "Have you seen me? Look at me. I've this ain't my first radio, mate. Give me the gold." Um, Duke is a bit more mysterious. He People think he's undercover, which is possibly quite the case. But we find from the last journal that all of the characters have led the pirate life. That's what they have in common, and it's led them astray, and they've been sold a story that's not really worked out too well, each in their own way. And I think Duke's Duke being expelled from the Bilge Rats has sort of made him think, oh, what's the point really?
Yeah,
I've
do you
tried to
think that's
be.
the driving force behind it? Him being expelled from his little group?
They say he was also lured here by the siren song, but I don't know. Like he seems to be back to normal in this, aside from the obvious voice change.
Mm.
Um, I think he's just been. Wanda talks about him waking up, so I think his like the sort of wall's been pulled from under his eyes or over his eyes. I don't know the term. His blindfold's been removed essentially, and now he's seeing what really he can do if he puts his mind to it. Sort of proving the
Mm.
haters wrong, I guess.
Yeah, so he does seem very much in control, right? Because we've seen Duke and he's always a bit groggy and he's a bit, you know there's forces pulling on him and curses pulling on him, but you don't really know what it is concrete. And now we see him again, even though just a few lines, but he seems very at rest and very in control, which is creepy in his own way. So do we need to read something in that he seems so calm?
No, so like if you read his journals on Umbra's island on Lagoon of Whispers, he does mention that he should have become a Reaper because even though he doesn't agree with like the violence, he does agree that they do embrace the pirate's life's freedoms. And you know, the Reapers, as bad as they are or seen as a negative faction, they are the most free faction compared to the other trading companies. You can't really call
Yeah.
them trading companies, but um, I think it's always been in him, and I think he likes the freedom. And the fact that the Build Rats haven't given him that has made him sort of push to even more sort of chaos.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I can live with that. So he's not because one of my subscribers, Source Sour, asks us why is Duke evil, but he's not really evil. He's just looking for his own pirate story. Is that how you assess it?
Yeah, essentially. So like, it's really tough because the characters are very grey in Sea of Thieves. Maybe I think about it too much, but like, there's no real like evil people, so to speak. Like a lot of the characters we would sympathize with. Maybe not the Gold Hoarder because that's just like very excessive. He just a pretty like he's just obsessed with greed, but like
Yeah, but again, if you read the novels, like I do
he's
side
sort
with him more than with Ramsey.
yeah, because Ramsey does him dirty, doesn't he? Doesn't
Yeah, he does.
treat him like an
It
equal,
doesn't. Yeah.
which is his fault. And I know Rathbone's always been obsessed with greed, but that sort of pushes him over the edge. Someone
Hmm.
who he could have saved if he was respected. Um,
Yeah.
but now, like, he's more of a tragic character where he just turns to this thing where he's just obsessed with gold and you can't think of anything else. But, he was pushed down that path or pushed over the edge at least. The Dark Brethren sounds evil on paper because they want to destroy the Sea of Thieves, but they're also like they're there for their own reasons, and the Sea of Thieves has not treated them well.
So why is Wanda working with the Brethren then? Kind of explored Duke, but why is Wanda?
So Wanda is explained in the journals actually really directly. If you haven't been keeping up or you've missed this before if you've joined quite late in Sea of Thieves, Wanda's been around since Curse Sales, which came out in August 2018. Um, she raised the skeleton ships. She raised the fleet, so she's the sort of engineer of that. And during that, she got in touch. She found a cursed cannon from the Burning Blade, which is Flameheart's ship. And it seems like a piece of his influence was in that because it cursed her and made her obsessed with him. She gets defeated, and like a year later, she turns up and uncovers where the Reaper's hideout is. Basically, a long string of events occur, and she ends up getting us to release Flameheart because she loves him. And we're not sure if that's from Flameheart's influence, the sort of whispering sweet nothings in the back of her head, or she's just become obsessed. And she sees what Flameheart's doing after he's been released. He's bringing the ghost ships back. He's bringing his Ashen Lords back. He's cursing Stitcher Jim. And she turns around and says, like, look, I really love you. Are you going to reciprocate the feelings or not? And he just laughs in her face. She's a plaything for him, and she never realized it. So she's been spurned, I guess, similar to Davy Jones. and then she vows to destroy the Sea of Thieves. So he has nothing to rule over in an act of spite. That's why she's there, essentially. Sorry for the long-winded explanation, but it's pretty much laid out to us bare.
Yeah, that's true, and that's nice as a definitive answer too. But you do need to read the books that are in this tall tale.
She does say at the end as well that she was invited because she's very good at crafting war. So she built skeleton ships. She's called the Warsmith after all.
Yeah.
She raised the skeleton ships. She caused war in cursed sails. She caused war between ourselves and the Reaper's Bones, even though she's technically sort of following Flameheart's ideals there. So now she's been invited to engineer another war between the Dark Brethren and the rest of the Sea of Thieves.
I indeed. And again, it shows how complex these characters are and that they can change their stance. Like you might experience Wanda being evil and working together with Flameheart, and then a year later in the season, she's actually switched her feelings, which is just interesting. Like I don't really know that many other games where that happens over time.
Yeah, she's seen as like the sort of archetype bad guy, but like you sort of feel sorry for her in the fact that like how could she be so naive? And obviously, it wasn't a nice thing to do for Flameheart, but it's not as if it's out of character. He's been using people to get back to where he is now, and probably even further for ever, essentially. And he doesn't seem to like people who are sort of weak and sort of weedy and sly. That's not what he does, even though he manipulates people. She really should have saw that coming, especially what happened
Yeah.
with Snitcher Jim.
He's not really good with the ladies, is he? Maybe that's the reason why he adopted the son. He just couldn't get a girl.
You can't have a girl if you're a skeleton. That's just not happening. I know she's also a skeleton lord, but how's that going to work? In the sack, it's not happening, is it?
Yeah, well, I've seen movies where puppets do it with each other. I'm sure they'll find a way.
God.
Uh, but
Deepest
not
lore.
happening in this story at least. So yeah, the final character we need to discuss a bit more, I think, is the Gold Hoarder. Firebird NZ has a question like, how did the Gold Hoarder become alive again? Which is a really good question because this is a part of the Tall Tales I don't really like. So I'll take it because I've mentioned this in the previous Tall Tale before too. Like at the end of Shores of Gold, we defeat the Gold Hoarder and we actually take his skull. Like his skull, we carry his skull back to the Order of Souls, and now he's somehow back. Granted, he is covered in coral, so something must be going on. But I can't really find any explanation why the Gold Hoarder has come back, even though the developers said, and that's the only clue we gotten actually. Like after the Shores of Gold and before these Tall Tales, they said, yeah, the Gold Hoarder is not really dead. He might come back. He has some more stories to tell, but that's not good enough for me because I can't see it in the game and I can't read it in the novel. I mean, hearsay from the developers is not it's not good enough for me.
So I don't know if it was your Discord or mine. Sorry if I've confused it. It's obviously such similar communities, but someone mentioned that when you give Briggsy's skull to Madame Olivia, she takes the secrets out of it and then just tosses it aside like it's nothing. So they've probably done that with the Gold Hoarder, and we'll find out how he came back. We just don't know at the moment, which is a bit frustrating. You can say it on Twitter and you can say it in the last Tall Tale. You can say it's going to happen, but you need to explain how it happens. Because if that's the case, then no one's ever going to die and no one can ever be defeated.
Yeah, indeed. So I think it was Firebird. Well, I can be wrong. But he said like David Jones saves people who are near to death. So he saved the Gold Hoarder. That's his explanation.
Oh, that's possible.
No, I don't
it,
agree with that.
it, I don't think it would be a good explanation for like a Sea of Thieves character coming back from the dead. I think the captain's got something to do with that. Chalice, a resurrection, anyone. Doesn't explain the corals though.
Yeah, indeed. So something is going on behind the scenes. And of course, those chords are very deliberate. And it definitely means something, but what? We couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, because it'd be different if he was like dropped in the sea or something like that. Like that would be a good way of explaining the corals, but it's just not at all.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll find out, but not at the moment.
indeed. Maybe Northern Souls storyline. Because can the canon of the story be, at the end of the Shores of Gold, I believe the Gold says we need to bring it to the Order of Souls, right?
Yeah, I think he says the the skull should fetch a pretty penny with the Order of Souls.
Yeah. So we can assume that can help me out, man. English.
Canonically,
Canonically, the skull has been brought to the Order of Souls, which in theory you can also bring to the Reapers. But I think it's safe to, for story's sake, it's safe to assume that we delivered it at the Order of Souls.
pass it to the servant at the flame and just yeets it in the lava underneath. Oh yeah, cheers, here's 10k. Just chucks underneath.
I, I indeed. Oh well, we'll see. So we did not even talk about the most interesting stuff in this tall tale, and we're going to do it right now, because in that little area where they have this big conversation and these big reveals, we solve a block puzzle there, and what we get for solving the puzzle is pretty big. So what is that?
It's the key to the dead man's chest.
And
And
what happens?
we take the key and we go to open the dead man's chest, which Davy Jones just left there for us to have a peek in. And there's no heart in there. There's a note from a gentleman called the Captain, or signed Captain. Can I read the note out as
Please
best
do.
as I can from my memory? Basically, it asks Davy Jones if he received the trinket that the captain sent, and once he hears of the victory, he'll set sail on the fastest tide. Signed, Captain. ...
Indeed. So what do we believe? Who is this character?
So, earlier on in the Tall Tale, the Gold Hoarder straight up ask, "Where is Captain?" The very specific spelling of the Captain from the Tales of the Sea of Thieves book. And if you didn't get my very long-winded explanation last episode, the Captain is the guy who used to be the captain of the Burning Blade before Flameheart Senior, and he cursed Flameheart Junior to be a skeleton lord. But he's obviously a very big player in the Sea of Thieves. And Davy Jones says that he's in service to another, the blackguard who absconded with his heart. So the captain stole Davy Jones's heart to control him, basically. And yeah, now that Davy Jones is gone, it looks like the captain's going to have to start cleaning house.
Really interesting stuff. It's like kind of like the figure in the background that's controlling everything. How sure are we that the captain is the captain from this Tales of the Sea of Thieves?
100%. I am.
All right.
I'm 100%, but yeah, like it's just the way it was spelled in the way the Gold Hoarder says it is very specific. And I suppose, who else is it really going to be? It can't be a new character.
Mm,
And we know it's not Flameheart because we know the Dark Brother are in against Flameheart, so
mm.
it's definitely the captain.
Yeah, that's. I mean, indeed, like the fact that there's nobody else who could be it, with the knowledge we have right now. Kind of like it's just what else is there, right? So it can only be this guy. Again, with Gold Hoarder being very deliberate with his phrasing, and of course, it's signed Captain dot dot dot. So do we believe we will get a real name attached to this captain, or is it always going to be the captain?
I think it's going to be the captain. I don't think they could put a name in and say, "Oh, this is who he is," and not sort of mess with. It wouldn't mess with the lore or continuity. It's just like he is the captain. It's very specific how it's spelt.
Aye. So do we think going forward that this character is going to be bigger than Flameheart, or what do we feel? What's going to happen?
As in, like a bigger antagonist or like
Yes.
a more powerful enemy.
Yeah, as the main enemy, because we led to believe that Flameheart is the main bad guy. But now Flameheart doesn't really appear at all in these tall tales. He kind of takes a back seat, and we get hints to Duke joining the Dark Brethren, and to this captain figure that's kind of orchestrating everything in the background, and that's going more to the forefront now. Is that going to be a bigger overall story before the game is done?
Yeah, so we were discussing this yesterday, and I think this is the end as of Act One of Sea of Thieves. As weird as that sounds, we're like 3 years into the game now, but the captain has been sort of in the background, not in the lore, so to speak, in the actual game. There's been other forces at play here, but in the very first book that came out on the day the game came out as well, he was introduced there with Flameheart Jr. And in the sense of like Star Wars, the Flameheart family are like the Skywalkers of the Sea of Thieves franchise, and they're going to be intertwined with it. And the captain will be the Emperor of of Sea of Thieves. Basically, he'll be the Palpatine, and he's going to get introduced as far as I can predict, probably next year. I think when we start like a new sort of Tall Tale arc, or it'll carry on the Flameheart arc. And the fact that he's part of the Dark Brethren, who seem to be more clear cut villains, will make him the main antagonist now and not Flameheart Senior.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna pan out something like that. And I also believe that we're just experiencing the first act of a bigger story. I do agree with that.
Yeah, unless it's not a Tall Tale thing, or it gets dragged out where we have to pick a side, Dark Brethren, or whoever Flameheart's going to be allied with, Flameheart Senior. And
Yeah,
it'll be like an event thing, like a long running feature. But that would be really cool, like an actual war for Sea of Thieves that lasts a really long time, and we have to compete for factions and stuff. But
yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
yeah, I have my own theory on that, but it's far too long winded. So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, indeed. Like this can be its own podcast episode if we continue this. The only thing I feel for sure is that we're not done with the twists and turns in these stories. Not at all. Duke was only the beginning. Um, so let's see. We have some few more questions. One thing that I don't really get is how did the Aztec treasure get there?
It's an Easter egg, isn't it? Like it's fan service. You know, Davy
Yeah.
Jones can't be cursed by it, so you can steal it, and the Gold Hoarder would really like that. It's just a little, hey, look, this is how we bribe the Gold Hoarder, the guy that has absolutely everything, all the gold he wants. Here's some really special gold.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it was just on a ship, right? Because Jack stole the logbox, that allowed him to travel to the Sea of Thieves, and he stole it from the treasure pile of Davy Jones. So maybe the Aztec treasure was there at the same time, and then when Davy Jones gave chase, he naturally took the treasure with him too.
Seems weird though that Davy Jones would just have treasure. Like
Yeah,
he's not motivated by treasure, nor does he need money. So
he could travel back and forth, right? If he also has a second logbox.
that's also true.
Yeah, all right. Not really that explained, and this is a part of the story that we don't really need to give much thought. I feel like
No, I agree.
something else that does require a bit more thought is a ritual. Again, that's really unclear to me. Like, what kind of ritual are they trying to perform?
So it seems like they're using the ritual to summon the spire that we go to in Tall Tale 5. But I think it also linked with bringing people back from the Sea of the Damned, because we find out, spoilers, in Tall Tale 5, that Jones is able to do that. He's been offering people deals to sort of allow them respite from the Sea of the Damned. And the ferryman's still knocking around, so he hasn't taken him out. Um,
Mm,
so I think it's linked with that. But again, this isn't explained at all. It just does a ritual. That's it. What does it
all right,
do? Who knows?
all right. Yeah, well, it sets up total five, right?
From what I can tell, unless like we've missed something here, but I think that's all it is really.
Yeah, we don't prevent the ritual, right? It gets its conclusion. Is it correct?
Yeah, yeah. Davy Jones
Okay.
finished it and he escapes.
All right, maybe I'll pick up some more clues when I complete it another time. What I did find out that the ritual has a name, by the way, and it's called the Ritual of Thieves. So yeah, that's another bit of information.
Mm, that's quite cryptic. We'll probably learn about what that is later down the line.
Yeah, I think so too, or maybe not. And it just needs to have a name. So the final question I had, and we kind of answered it a little bit. So why introduce us to this brethren when the next Tall Tale is all about David Jones again? Like we don't see Wanda anymore, we don't see the Cold War anymore, we don't see Duke anymore. So why introduce us to the brethren?
It's long-term story building. You can't, because when we finish Shores of Gold, it's like, what's going to happen next? And we've had this long-running story arc of we're halfway through it now, and if they finished like the Dark Brethren was defeated, one, that'd be really crap storytelling. 'Cause you can't just introduce a like the Sinister Six like that and just take them out in the next Tall Tale. And two, it's meant to be like open and closed, so like the Pirates of the Caribbean characters come and leave. So if Davy Jones is defeated, then it's just about the rest of the Dark Brethren for the rest of the storyline.
Yeah, indeed. So either way, it gives us a good hopes that we get more lore in the future.
I just think it was a weird choice. Like, as much as I really like these tall tales and the story, like, we didn't have to have Davy Jones of Pirates of the Caribbean to make this really epic, but it was obviously a
Yeah.
marketing thing. So I think you're right in the fact that they've intertwined Pirates of the Caribbean with this story arc. And this
Mm,
was what was meant to happen just with Flameheart anyway.
yeah.
With maybe the captain was meant to appear by now, or like, I don't know, Stitch Jim was meant to be leading the Dark Brethren, something like that. And
Yeah, and the Pirate Lord was telling the stories in the tavern.
exactly, yeah, I think you're right, and this has been adapted.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's their game, and it's brought a lot of people into the game, and it
Mm,
was really good. But yeah, it's still a bit weird that we've just had this massive story arc tied it over with
yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean characters, and now the main antagonist has been defeated of that, and now we're just getting the actual main antagonist after it.
Indeed. We mentioned this before. I've told you to, and when we were setting, I've mentioned it a couple of times. If it was up to me, I would not have these Pirates of the Caribbean characters. But I'm not angry that they're there. Only if it was, if it was up to me, like no, just give me video game characters only and separate it. Still, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I like Jack being there and all that stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like it, and it does bring people in, so I like it for that. But if it was up to me, it didn't really have to be this way.
Yeah, like I saw the trailer at E3, I was like, "This is really cool," and I was like, "But what about Flame Art's story?" And I know we got a we got a little thing about that, but like, when do we were waiting for something to happen, and season 3 seemed to be really, really big. This was obviously huge, but I was still like really disappointed. It was like these tall tales would have been so epic as just a standalone story for Sea of Thieves rather than a
Mm,
crossover. Um, and I think, yeah, as you've discussed it now, it seems that's been adapted into their storyboard and plan, so they didn't have to start from scratch. I'm still like a tiny bit disappointed that this could have been a really, really epic just Sea of Thieves thing, but that doesn't sell, does it?
Indeed. I mean, it's good for a game, I guess, but it does makes me wonder, like, how we're gonna look at this after a couple of years, right? Like, are we still gonna look fondly to this decision of the developers, or are we, when the game is done and the story has been told, as far as a conclusion as we can get to the story that is, like, are we gonna look back and say, oh yeah, that's kind of a bit of a sore spot, these movie characters, or are we gonna look back fondly and like, oh yeah, that was amazing decision they made. So I think only time will tell.
Yeah, sorry to go on, but it's almost like if Halo Infinite concluded with Marcus Phoenix helping out from Gears of War, like, oh yeah, it's a cool crossover, but like, is it really the best for the canon? I'm not like shitting on Pirates of the Caribbean or anything like that,
Mm,
or Rare, because I thought this was phenomenal. It's just that as a lore buff and a really big canon fan, yeah, I'm sort of worried about how it's going to look when all is said and done, as you quite rightly brought up.
yeah, indeed. Which this does tie nice into our closing questions. One of them is from Firebird and Z again, and he asks us, "Do you think there will be more A Party's Life Tall Tales?" Which is a really interesting question. I'll take this one first because I definitely think we'll get more at the end of the fifth Tall Tale. It's kind of hinted at that we'll be seeing more of Jack. And on one hand, I wouldn't mind getting more. And on the other hand, if this is the only thing, I'll be fine. But they definitely left it open for more Pirates of the Caribbean intervenience.
Yeah, they have left it open ended for that. I hope it's not the case. um, Partly because one, it's not necessary, and two, it's going to take a lot more dev time from things that we've been waiting for, bug fixes, captaincy, Pirate Legend updates, that sort of thing. Which
Mm,
I think like this achievement would have been absolute hell for the development team because of the bureaucracy involved.
yeah.
And personally, as much as I do like these tall tales, I don't want to go through another 2 years of that and have other features suffer um, to
Now,
get a
what are
big
you talking about? You didn't like the Rune Hunt?
runes. I liked the rune hunt, but after 6 months of teasing, or 9 months, or whatever it was, I can't remember. It was 6 months. It was a bit like frustrating.
Yeah.
And I know it's what we do with Sea of Thieves. We tease things for half a year or a year before anything actually happens. But yeah, like the game still has other areas of improvement that don't necessarily need to come, but should. Like because the game's still got so much potential. I don't want another 2 years of dev time taken up for more Pirates of the Caribbean stuff because
Aye.
it lines people's pockets. It's a crude way of putting it, but let's be honest here.
So we really need to wrap it up. I have actually more things to discuss, but looking at the questions, these will open big discussions. So I know there's some questions from subscribers that still need answers, but I think we're just going to do it in the next episode where we
If
only have one tall tale to discuss too.
Are you talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean timeline? Because this is the
Yes.
definitive answer.
All right, go for it then.
It happens after the fifth film because in the Tall Tale 3 we get stories of all 5 films, and it happens after Dead Men Tell No Tales because it mentions the Trident being destroyed and the fact that Barbossa is dead, and Scrum is in there. It's proof that it happens after all the films.
All right, there you go. There was a question from Benabel, by the way. Yoshi wanted to know where does it take in the timeline, and Ray just answered it. Just after all the movies are done, that's when it happens. So we're gonna wrap up. So that's it for this episode. And the next one we'll discuss the last tall tale, and we also discuss the final questions from the subscribers, and we give our final thoughts about season 3. Again, please remember to join the Discord if you have questions about the lore or these tall tales. Make sure to let us know, and we are there to help you out. Again, link to the Discord will be in the description. So for now, I want to thank AShinyRay for being an awesome co-host. And can you tell our listeners where they can find your content?
Yeah, you can find my content right here on YouTube. Just type AShinyRay in the search bar at the top there. You'll find some good Sea of Thieves content. Well, good for my standards anyway. I do discussions, lore, reviews, feedback, update ideas. There's something for everyone. If you like Blubber, you'll like me. My content is probably not as good, just more frequent, as he says. So yeah, check it out.
All right, yeah, definitely check him out. I don't really watch that many other Sea of Thieves YouTubers, but I do watch AShinyRay, so he's got my seal of approval. So definitely go have a look. And also don't forget to give this video a little like. I would appreciate it as well. So drink some grog, do something daring, and take care. Goodbye.
Hi guys.